Hello, witches, and greetings, goats everywhere, because it is Wednesday. It is time for the Witches Movie Coven. So grab that goat, grab a drink, grab a wand, grab your tail, grab your horns, because we're going to talk about movies. What movie are we going to talk about this week? We're going to talk about Labyrinth, the classic 1986 David Bowie. Oh my, oh yes. Muppets Everywhere, Labyrinth. Hope you watched it. If not, check out real fast. My name is Patti Negri. I am one of your hosts for this evening. You might know me from my regular podcast, The Witching Hour. You might know me from Ghost Adventures or Portals to Hell, Overnight Channel, Sam and Colby, or Bathroom Walls Across America. But let me introduce you to some of my co-hosts right now, starting with Richard-Lael.
I am Richard-Lael. Richard-Lael is one name, not two. Can you hear me? I think you can hear me. Did I freeze?
We can hear you. We can't hear you anymore.
Yes.
Okay. There we go. Richard-Lael is one name, not two. Anyway, I'm known as a gentleman psychic. I'm a psychic and a medium. That's all I'm going to say about that one, Jason Mankey.
I've ruined it.
But I will say
it.
before we go too much. I used to be a psychic and a medium, but I used to be a psychic and a small. Now I'm a psychic and a medium. Anyway, that said, make sure you go over and check us out. There'll be a QR code. You can sleep with me. You can get into Patty's panties. You can quote like Heather. You can be a bro witch like Jason. You can get our books. You can do all of those things right over there at Mystery Control. Also, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, comment. It really helps out the algorithm. Helps us to keep doing shows for you.
Yes, thank you very, very much. And now let's go to our next regular, the blonde locked beauty, Jason Mankey.
I don't feel like a regular because I've been gone for 2 weeks and it's painful to be separated from the Coven. I am a prolific author, having written 10 books. This is probably my most famous book, The Horned God of the Witches. I am just overjoyed to be back with the Coven. It's always nice to have Jenny here. It's always great to have Chad here.
Yes. And we missed you madly. We are glad you are back. So let's move over to our two special guests. Number one, you recognize him, the wonderful Chad Hatter. Thank you. Welcome back, Chad.
I am so happy to be here. This is one of my absolute favorite movies. I do want to apologize to everyone. My tech is so out of date. Every time we do this, I always look like a ghoul because I can never get the lighting right. So I do apologize. But I'm wearing my Goblin King coat. This is my replica of the jacket that he wears during the dream sequence. And you can't tell, but this is all sequins and beadwork, and it's all very, very pretty and rather worrying. And I'm very, very, very happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
It is absolutely beautiful. You came in glowing. We almost had to put on our sunglasses. Jason did. It was gorgeous.
Oh, you mean because of this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Isn't that great? It
Magic
keeps me safe when I'm jogging at night.
Magic is everywhere. That's beautiful. And I must say, came in a last minute fill-in, and we love her, and you've seen her a lot lately, the wonderful Jenny Bell. Thank you, Jenny.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me back. I am Jenny C. Bell. I am a writer. I'm a host of Cozy Coven Chats, and I'm the host of my own private community called Our Coven.
Thank you very much. Heather is not feeling well tonight. Our beautiful Heather Greene. She works with us with all of our books, my new book Dogcraft and Jason, and she works at Llewellyn and has her own beautiful book, Everything You Need to Know About Movies, called Lights, Camera, Witchcraft by Heather Greene. She will hopefully be back with us next week, as will Courtney. Courtney, it's big old anti-Valentine's Day in Salem, so she's busy telling people how horrible love is on the streets of Salem, enjoying every second of it. So let's talk about Labyrinth, shall we? Hopefully you guys all watched it. I watched it just last night, but just in case you didn't. Hi, Victoria. Richard-Lael, do you have an unbiased synopsis of this lovely film?
I do have an unbiased synopsis of this film, and I'm going to be quite reserved in my storytelling today. It's basically the story of a young woman who is at home babysitting her baby brother, and she wishes the goblins would take him away because he's a screaming, crying brat. And much to her credit and her power of magic, the goblins do hear her, and they, because he's not crying, back into the room, and then David Bowie in very, 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 very extremely tight trousers, and then it gives her an ultimatum of, well, you can have your dream, have the baby, and she chooses to have her brother, and she goes into this wonderland world of a labyrinth. She meets along the way a lot of puppets that sort of help her. A muggle, a moggle, a Hogwart, I don't remember his name.
Chad's dying.
He's this troll that helps her through the entire way, but he double crosses. There's nothing as it
He's
seems.
a dwarf.
Dream sequence. Baby returned. The end. That's about it.
Thank you. Now that we all completely understand the movie, maybe there's a little more. And playing Heather Greene this evening, we have Jason Mankey doing 5 more things we actually need to know. Yes, Friday the 13th is days away.
All right, got to get into my Heather Greene costume. All right, let's put a scarf on. It is necessary in order to properly channel Heather. There we go. So here are 5 things that you need to know about the movie Labyrinth. Most of you probably already know that Jim Henson was the director of this film, but this was the last film that he directed before he passed just 4 years later. Apparently, he was also kind of depressed after this film came out for reasons we will talk about it, though I don't think his depression and his passing are related in any way. The movie comes from a story by Jim Henson and a children's book author from Canada named Dennis Lee. The movie was actually written from that story by Terry Jones, who was a member of the Monty Python troupe. So when this came together by Lee writing a novella of the story and then passing it on to Jones, Jones has said he didn't really get on with the novella, and he thought that it was really just kind of an unfinished sketch of a story. And in order to write the movie, he sat down with the drawings of Brian Froud. Brian Froud is well known for drawing a lot of fairies and gnomes and other fae and magical creatures. He had worked with Henson before on The Dark Crystal. And Jones said it was really those stories those drawings more than the novella that really helped shape the story in his view. If you feel like this movie has some adult comedy in it, that is probably because of Jones. The movie also feels wildly British to me in some places and reminds me a little bit of Time Bandits. And I think that comes because of the flavor of Monty Python and Jones, who ended up writing this. George Lucas was also involved in the making of Labyrinth. He was a producer. He was constantly on set when the movie was being filmed. And apparently he did some rewrites of the script while he was on set, though he did not officially get credited for that. So if there's moments where you think the dialogue is stilted and not pleasant, my guess is that those are lines added by George Lucas. The movie was shot over 5 months in 1985, but before that, it took 1.5 years to make all the puppets that they used in the production. The casting of this movie is pretty interesting. This is thing number 2. Sarah, who was played by Jennifer Connelly in the film, was almost played by a host of now famous actresses. Helen Bonham Carter was eyed early for the role, but then it was decided that they needed an American to do this. And so there's a huge list of people who tried out. Marissa Tomei, Laura Dern, Ali Sheedy, Jane Krakowski, who played Jane on 30 Rock, and that just blows my mind. Yasmin Bleeth, who was later on Baywatch, and the star of Sex and the City, Sarah Jessica Parker. I think this would have been a very different movie had any of those women been cast. Some of them I can see in the role. Some of them, like Sarah Jessica Parker, I just cannot see at all, and I think we dodged a huge bullet. Jennifer Connelly was 14 when she took the role. And Jennifer Connelly, if you don't know her, she went to star in dozens of other things. For me, the most notable thing that she starred in was a movie that came out a few years later, and that's The Rocketeer, because I developed a huge crush on Jennifer Connelly from The Rocketeer. But we won't get into that too much. The other major character to be cast, of course, is the Goblin King himself, Jareth. And Jim Henson had an idea that he was going to cast a musical person for a long time, and he considered a couple of other people before they settled on David Bowie. Sting was one, Prince, Mick Jagger, and this is absolutely terrible and would have made the film even more unsettling. Michael Jackson. Again, we dodged many bullets. The casting was much better with the people that they picked instead of the people that they didn't pick. Bowie almost dropped out a few times because he didn't like the way his character was being portrayed in some of the early scripts, and he had a lot of input in how Jareth was portrayed. Here's a really interesting thing that I found out while I was trying to play Heather earlier today. Gates McFadden, Dr. Beverly Crusher from Star Trek The Next Generation, was almost the stepmother in the movie. She was still in the movie, but you don't see her because she worked as the choreographer for all of the dance scenes, though I'm not sure she really wants to take credit for some of those. But she was the choreographer for all the dance scenes, and because of union rules, she couldn't be a choreographer and also work as an actress in the movie. So she had to be replaced as the stepmother. I did text Heather a little bit before I put this together and before we came on. And she thinks that this movie, in a lot of ways, is an example of some of the satanic panic that gripped the 1980s. If you're not familiar with satanic panic, it was this idea that kids were being kidnapped by Satanists. It was a crazy conspiracy theory. It was everywhere. It was shared by people that we mostly kind of like now, like Oprah Winfrey. It was everywhere in the 80s. And the idea of snatching a baby really plays into some of that satanic panic thinking. Whether or not Jim Henson did that intentionally or not, I'm not sure. It's also sort of an 80s trope that you saw in a lot of other movies in this era, stealing a baby. Gene Siskel from Siskel and Ebert said that he hated that because they're really trying to get you to feel sympathetic, and they're sort of playing with your emotions by always making the victim of these things a baby. Also, Heather added to me that the story kind of reads differently today. And when you watch it, you don't really think of the satanic panic stuff. But she says when you watch it today, a lot of it feels kind of out of touch and a little bit problematic for reasons that we'll talk about, I think, in the show. The movie itself, a box office disappointment, bringing in a meager $34 million on a $25 million budget. It didn't do very well, especially in the United States, where it only made $13 million. The movie, though, was a big hit in Japan, where it brought in $9 million and was number one at the box office for 4 weeks in December of 1986 in the UK, where it made $4.5 million. Unlike movies today, this movie was released over a long period of 6 months. It was released in the summer in the United States, and then 6 months later, it was finally released throughout Europe. Early reviews were mostly negative to middling. However, after its initial release, the movie began inching toward cult status. And judging by the chat, a lot of you are people who love the cult status of the movie. It did well on VHS, later DVD. It was a staple of cable television. And slowly it began to find an audience a year or two after it came out. Talks of reboots and sequels have been going on for the last 20 years. Right now, there is a reboot in some degree of development, though how far along that is probably not very far along. But there are also tie-in comic books, lots of making of Labyrinth books, and there are over 10,000 fanfic stories circulating the internet about characters in the movie Labyrinth, which, if you think about it, you could probably tell who most of those stories feature in the leading role because of David Bowie's impressive David Bowie-ness. Labyrinth, in conclusion, is probably more popular today than it ever was when it was originally released back in 1996. And those are 5 things you should know about the movie Labyrinth. And now I can put my scarf away.
Very good, Heather Jason.
It was very good. And I love the fact that Heather has a crush on Jennifer Connelly.
Yes.
Yes. I said that was young Jason. I admitted that. Though Heather could have a crush on young Jennifer Connelly. I also have a crush, of course, on Dr. Beverly Crusher. You know, I'm not made out of stone, people.
Okay, well, thank you. Now that we know and we are into the film, I don't know who wants to start. Who wants to start in honor of Bowie's beautiful cheekbones and very tight pants, and big hair, big hair. I weirdly, because I'm not the movie girl in our movie, Kevin, I had never seen this movie. I have been to the Labyrinth Ball in Los Angeles. I have dressed the lines. I knew characters and this and that. I had never sat down and watched the movie before until now. So, Chad, you look like you're chomping at the bit. Go.
Okay, so first of all, there's this, which I completely forgot I had a photo of me from when I was the Goblin King for an event. That's 10 years ago that I took that selfie. And I literally just sent it to Rob on Facebook in all caps. I was like, I forgot I had this. I love this movie. When I was young, I was watching this and Return to Oz and Back to the Future, and I was 100% a 1980s
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Well, and of course, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the superior adaptation. But no, I'm obsessed with the costume design of this movie. In the past, traditionally, I always have been here to talk about costumes and stuff, but everyone always talks about David Bowie's trousers, but they always conveniently ignore everything going on above the waist. His insane asymmetrical leather jackets, that outfit, his owl outfit, of course, but that one right there, I call it his riding outfit because he's out and about in his kingdom. There's a gold worm that starts around his left hand that actually weaves through the armor and through the costume. You can see it there on his shoulder. You can see it on his hand. That leather jacket, if you ever get a chance to look up pictures of it, it's currently on display somewhere. I don't know where. But it's fabulous. His owl outfit was made of layers and layers and layers of semi-sheer silk habitai, which is my absolute favorite fabric on the planet. It's this crazy lightweight silk that just you blink and it moves. It's so lightweight. And a very dear friend of mine actually has a casting of the bone armor that's woven through the hair on the owl outfit's shoulders. He has a piece of it hanging on his wall, and I've tried to steal it many times. His outfit at the ball, obviously, which I'm wearing a reproduction of, is just, they went out of their way to make him look stunning. And I think look at this. Look, who wouldn't be enchanted by that? I'll tell you who, my boyfriend, because he hates things that are sparkly, but that's another conversation entirely. A lot of the queer community always point to this movie as being their queer awakening, particularly gay men when they talk about his pants. But I found this to be my camp awakening because there's glitter on absolutely everything. And the work of Brian Froud and Jim Henson together is just it is a cornerstone of fairies and goblins and elves and just what they look like, because people always want to make them these beautiful things, and in the original lore they're not always, as you guys know. They can be dirty and cheeky and filthy, and we don't have enough goblins out in the world. And I also wanted to point out too that the story borrows heavily from a book by Maurice Sendak called Outside Over There, which is about a girl whose baby brother is kidnapped by goblins when she's not paying attention, and they take him through the bedroom window. And when she steps out through the bedroom window, she's in a completely new environment because she exited the house not through the door, but rather through the window. And in the movie Labyrinth, when Jareth comes to claim Toby and says, he's there in my castle, he points through the window, and then we then go through it. And so if you look in the credits, there's a special thanks to Maurice Sendak, because there was some headbutting that happened when the movie was starting to come about, and see, there you go, the goblins spiriting the baby away. Yeah, no, I love this movie. And I also just wanted to point out too that every single character we meet in the Labyrinth, including Jareth, is foreshadowed in the opening in Sarah's bedroom. There are drawings and toys and dolls and paintings of everything. Like even the Labyrinth itself is represented in her bedroom, which is just, it's one of those movies where if you watch it multiple times at a normal speed, Richard-Lael, there's Easter eggs all over the place.
I shall never watch this one again.
Well, you're allowed to be wrong. The other thing that I just love too is they hid David Bowie's face all throughout the movie. It's in the movie 4 different times, if you know where to look for it. The most obvious is when he comes to talk to Hoggle and threaten him, and we get a very clear shot of these standing stones that make his face, but his face is everywhere, because he's always watching, is kind of the idea. And that was actually something they mimicked in Wicked. In the first Wicked movie, the wizard's head is hidden in wallpaper and things all over the set. And yeah, the Escher painting, just my God, man. Okay, I'm done. I will now contribute and stop hogging.
Thank you. No, that was fabulous. Thank you. Richard-Lael?
Well, I will say the art direction was beautiful. And I would like to say that Hogwarts, whatever his name is, he was lost. Jim Henson actually put him in. Jim Henson put him in a suitcase, and then he got lost, and he was lost for a decade, and now resides in the Lost Artifacts Museum. Just that. That being said, I hate this movie. I watched the first 30 minutes in regular speed. I hate everything about it. I've avoided this film for 40 years. I hate everything about it, even David Bowie. I hated the acting. I hated
Richard-Lael, I have to interrupt you. I have to interrupt you real quick. Do you know what happened to the Hoggle puppet? Do you know what happened to the Hoggle puppet that got lost? Do you know what its eventual fate was? No?
It was put in a suitcase and then it was restored.
It was restored, but it was restored by a person who knows nothing about restoring puppets, and it looks like an eldritch horror. Like it's still there because the Jim Henson Company didn't want it back after they restored it. It is god awful. It is horrific. It is, if you ever want to Google it, please don't. I have a feeling we're about to see a photo of it, whether we like it or not. It is so upsetting what happened to that thing when they found it and they knew what it was. They should have just given it back to the Jim Henson Company because it is atrociously bad. Okay, now you may speak. I'm so sorry. I love you all. Jenny, you look very, very pretty. I like the streaks in your hair. It's very nice. I have no hair.
Thank you. That's so kind. I wore my hair like this because I was channeling my inner Jennifer Connelly. I was like, her hair's part on the side. I like darkened my eyebrows more. I was like, I need more eyebrow if I'm going to channel her. I was going to say about this movie. So I was born in 1982 and it's just like, they don't make movies like this anymore. I have children. And so we see like every kids movie, whether I want to or not, it's like Clockwork Orange in the theater. And they're terrible for the most part. Like there's no attention to detail. There's no art. There's no beautiful music. It's no actors that It's like the layers upon layers on this film is very thoughtful, whether you like it or not. It's like super thoughtful. But what's interesting too is like all the movies from the 80s, they all kind of have like this book element, you know, like, so it's like Never Ending Story, this movie, Princess Bride, there's all like this, you see her, all her books on the shelf, she's holding the book and then the book comes to life. That's a very like common trope in the 80s movies for kids. It's like, this book is really, I don't know if they were like pushing reading. They were like, if you read the book, it comes to life. But there's that. And then there's the whole like changeling aspect, which, you know, tied to satanic panic. But I love that it's like this whole idea of the changeling, like the baby is taken. And at first you think someone's like replaced it with a changeling, but it's like actually gone. So I liked that aspect of like the, you know, the literary part. But yeah, it's so interesting how all the movies from our childhood are absolutely terrifying. There's always like a part or two where you were just like completely terrified. Like Return to Oz is terrifying. I found this movie scary as a child. I remember when I showed my kids The Last Unicorn, they were both hiding behind the couch and like, tell us when it's over. And I'm like, I think I messed up. But you know, it's just, they don't do that anymore. Like the movies are not terrifying for kids, but all of our movies, like Willy Wonka, when he's on the boat and then when he's in the half office and he turns psychotic and you're like, I thought he was nice. Like, it's like, I don't know. They just didn't want us to trust anybody. I don't know what it was.
You think? Yeah.
I think you and I are going to be very good friends.
It was scary. Again, me not watching it, me very much an adult. It was like, oh God. I mean, I got all the meanings behind the meanings behind the meanings and the journey and all that stuff, but it was like, ugh. Had I been a kid, I would have probably liked like an Alfred Hitchcock film, The Birds, more than this, because this was scarier. This
The
was
Muppets are scary.
Yeah. So let's go back to Richard-Lael because we jumped in on there. So take the floor, sir.
I just was gonna say I hate it. I didn't like it. I did like the house. We talked about that, Jenny, a little bit before. The house is great, but that was in New York. So of course I liked the house. The costumes were pretty. It just made me nauseous. The film made me sick. And maybe because I'm so embroiled in what's happening now politically for this 14-year-old girl and this David Bowie adult man. And that made me really skeeved out. I really didn't like it. I didn't like it.
You are 100% supposed to be creeped out by that. He's the villain, and people forget that. And it's like, no, he creates this bubble version of himself that he drops her into entirely to keep her distracted. And people forget that he's not a hero. He's the villain. You're supposed to be creeped out by that. That's the point. Like, and people always forget that. And but I do agree with what you're saying. With everything going on nowadays, it's a very unfortunate connotation to have.
14 is kind of young. I don't know if that 16 would have been that much better, but 14 is young. Yeah. Is he a predator? Or more than just a villain? That there's.
Well, Taya asked me if I would have liked it if they would have swapped Freddie Mercury. No, nothing could have saved this film for me. I have avoided it for however many years it has been out. I absolutely hated it. I hated everything about it. I think the puppets might have entertained me if I was 7, and I love the Muppets. I love Muppets. I still watch Sesame Street. I could not get into this, and then. I liked the music of David Bowie, but then I felt like that the intro that went on for 20 hours.
Yeah.
And then and I like musicals, but this was sort of like, God, I hated every second of it.
The owl at the beginning was the first CG animal ever on film.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason why it goes on for so long, was they were showcasing the technology.
Still hated it.
Yes, he stole the baby. Of course, he's a predator, but he seemed like a pervert and a predator. Perhaps that's a different thing. Yeah.
Well, this has been fun.
I can't run away yet.
Okay.
This is the problem. Rob, stop putting that picture up. We've seen it. The problem is I'm talking to you on my laptop, not my phone, and the laptop won't fit in the freezer. So I'm subjected to Richard-Lael's demagoguery, and there's no way to get away from it. I do agree about watching Sesame Street, though. I find it comforting in these backwards medieval times that we live in.
Sesame Street is great. I love Sesame Street.
Maybe we should have borrowed some of Courtney's sunglasses for hexing while she's away or something. We should get a pair that we all have. Courtney's glasses. Again, I have lots of stories that go lots of ways, but I didn't hate it like you, Richard-Lael, but I was upset by it. I was upset by it. Just everybody's so mean. We need more not mean. I don't know. I'm turning into this weird peacenik thing. I don't like mean goblins, fairies who bite. I mean, I get fairies bite. I know fairies aren't all Tinkerbell, but Jason, what do you think?
I remember when this movie came out, and I liked 1982's The Dark Crystal quite a bit, and I found that world extremely immersive. I was hoping that Labyrinth would be something that was very much like The Dark Crystal, and I don't think it is like The Dark Crystal. I don't find the world as immersive as that film was, and I think that there are some of the puppets that don't work, mainly Sir Didymus. Is that his name, Chad? Didymus?
Yes. Yep, Sir
Didymus. Like he looks like kind of an extra puppet from the Muppet Show and doesn't fit the other sort of more advanced puppet, and every time he's on screen, it takes me right out of the fantasy, and I always felt like this film should have been made for me, and I'm a lot like Richard-Lael. I don't like it. I didn't like it when I finally saw it in 1987, and I really liked it a lot less today when I sat down and rewatched it. I love the Muppets. I've seen every Muppet movie in a theater because I love them so much, and there are things to appreciate about it, for sure. I liked some of the set design. I really agree with Chad on the clothes of David Bowie, because that was something I picked up today while I was watching it. Bowie just looks great at every moment, and not just his junk being big, like the shirts look great. There are things to like about this movie, but as a whole, I just don't think it holds together. And I think especially in 2025 that I know that he's the bad guy, but I also think because it's David Bowie, they were afraid to commit to that completely. And you do feel like this weird romantic tension between the 16-year-old girl and the Goblin King. And it made me want to go take a third shower today.
I will say,
because I took one earlier after watching the first half, and then again,
I do wonder if it would have aged better if it had been a Goblin Prince instead of a Goblin King, and brought his age down and made him more like a very problematic 20-year-old, almost college age, who's just, because the whole reason why he's kidnapping Toby is because he wants out. He doesn't want to be the Goblin King anymore. That's why he's a human, because he was taken. And so he's repeating the cycle, and it would be, because that's the sequel. The sequel, when they go back to the Labyrinth, is Toby, being Jareth's heir. That's the plot of the sequel. Spoilers. It would have been interesting to have a dynamic with the two of them closer in age, where he's more of a peer and less of a, someone who's old enough to be her dad. That I think actually would have made it more interesting, because then they could have really played with, well, I know I'm beautiful, I'm beautiful, I'm going to use that against you. And her being savvy enough to push against it would have been really, really fun and vaguely therapeutic to watch.
When you say that, I think of a different movie now where you see maybe a guy she has a crush on from high school, and then that guy actually plays Jareth in the other parts of the film, sort of a Wizard of Oz type experience, and then you get rid of the creepiness immediately, and it comes together. I mean, when you have a chance to work with David Bowie, I get it. You take that chance to work with David Bowie, but again, the pieces just don't fit right.
Yeah, it felt too timely today. I watched it today also, and then I'm watching it, I'm like, how old is she actually? I Google it, I'm like, she's 14. I was like, oh. Yeah, and it really felt gross. And then like, but as a kid, I didn't see it that way, which I don't know what that says about the 80s or whatever. But as a kid, I'm like, it's David Bowie. Like, I thought he was so cool. And like, I was in love with him. Like, you think she is, which I don't know what that was doing to me. You know what I mean? Like, different times for sure. But yeah, I watched it today and I had the same thought. I was like, oh, she's 14. Oh,
Yeah.
But yeah.
Just a little too young. I mean, the whole thing, the Labyrinth.
It is there is something really nice though.
Go on. Go on.
Oh, I just was gonna say there is something really, really, really nice about watching a young girl look a grown man in the face and say, "You have no power over me." It gets me every time. That's that I love that moment. I don't know what that says about me, but I love that moment.
No, these were like initiation, almost like the Labyrinth as an initiation, right? That's what I was starting to say. Like literally, she begins resentful and dramatic, and this young 14-ish looking acting girl, and all of a sudden she's facing false friends, she's facing illusions, temptation, self-doubt, pressure, and she's maturing on camera in the middle of a labyrinth with goblins and a rock star. You know, it's because he's gonna look like a rock star more than a Goblin King. So it went into, I just kept looking at, okay, now we're going to the masquerade. Okay, now we're looking at glamour magic and altered consciousness and all sorts of things, looking at from a whole witchy place, really. And my favorite thing is you have no power over me. It's a spell in itself.
Yes.
You have no power over me. That's good. But, and in Goblin King, is he like the shadow animus, more like the seductive pool of that? Is it about escapism? Is it about the desire to power over responsibility? I don't know. I kept reading way too deep into it, and then I'd go, I want to watch the birds.
I do love the design of Ludo, though.
Symbols
He's my favorite.
Oh, Ludo is great. Mm-hmm.
But I also
there were some symbols that I did not.
We could go Richard-Lael first, and then Chad.
No, I'm done.
No, you're not done. You can come back and you made theirs. It's great. So the thing is, the peach that she's given that sort of sends her back, that is a metaphor that should not actually have been there. And I think that when they knew what they were doing, even the way that David Bowie handles the peach, and that peaches, even she says something along the lines of, it's a shame to spoil it or defile it, something like that. Just creepy. It's creepy. It's creepy. It's creepy. It's weird. It's creepy. Great costumes. Great art direction.
And
it's creepy.
It's pretty. It's creepy. And had he had some different pants, you might have noticed the jackets better.
For sure.
Just saying. Chad, go on with what you were starting to say, please.
Well, the peach is a reference to the apple of knowledge because they pulled it from a Chinese folktale where it's peaches that grant you knowledge rather than apples, because they didn't want to be so literal, make it so Snow White. So I don't think the peach was intentionally graphic. I think, like I said, I've read way too much about this movie. I know all the superfluous details, which is why I'm really not an asset this week. I'm just a hindrance. I can leave at any point. But
the show is better, Chad, when we have diverging views.
Always better.
Your presence is totally necessary tonight, given the way this discussion has gone.
I'm really just trying to help. I promise. I can just be. Yeah. Okay. I'll mute myself again.
No.
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 And you love it, which is great. I just think that I might have enjoyed it if I would have seen it 40 years ago.
Yeah.
I might have enjoyed it 40 years ago.
No.
But I will say that it reminded me of a film that I did watch back in the 1980s that is so very much like this, but it's not nearly as creepy. It was the Hug-a-Bunch Kids.
Oh,
I
God.
think. which that was like. Hey, do you remember that?
Yes,
Jason?
I remember that. Holy crap!
So this little girl, her grandmother is going into the nursing home, and she's trying to keep her grandmother there, and her grandmother gives her this creepy little stuffed doll with curly hair, and somehow she goes through a looking glass, through the mirror, to this alternate reality world where there are puppets, and there's a little bit of Wizard of Oz, a bit of Snow White, and there's a little bit of the evil queen, and the evil queen has strawberries on a tree. They're not apples, they're not pears, they're not peaches, they're strawberries. So here it is, the Hug-a-Bunch kids, the Hug-a-Bunch. So the evil queen stays young because she takes these strawberries from a tree, and then as she goes through, the girl goes, she drops all of them save one, and she goes to her grandmother. She's like, I'm gonna get my grandmother to be young again, and as she goes through the mirror, it turns to dust. And it was sort of like, well, you went through all of this trouble, but people grow older, and there's not much that you can't help it. There's nothing to do. So I did watch that one, and there's a bookworm in it, and there are the guards that remind me of the witches' guards in The Wizard of Oz. I mean, I liked the Hug-a-Bunch movie, but of course I was like 5, so maybe I would hate it now.
It looks
I don't know.
terrifying, but I want to see it. Looks terrifying.
It was terrifying. It was the 80s. It was the 80s. Kids' movies were terrifying.
40 years. That's, wow, time flies. 40. All right. Is there anything that we haven't said yet that we need to say about this film?
I have to ask.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead, Jenny. Please go
I
ahead.
was going to say, you brought up the Satanic Panic, and we didn't really get to talk about that because I thought that was like interesting. I didn't see it that way. I saw it more as like changeling fairy story, but then given the context of today too, it really felt like the baby being stolen was very significant. So yeah, I was interested in that, the Satanic Panic play, because even David Bowie is like demon-like with the way they do his eye makeup and his like that special little haircut, his Tony and Guy haircut. It's like very like he looks like a demon, but like a daemon, like how we would say, like a not a so scary one, but kind of scary. And so that's interesting too, the Satanic Panic.
Yeah, when I watched it, I didn't really think about that, but Heather, that was a text from Heather. So that was really an observation of our Heather Greene. But I kind of agreed with her after thinking about it, because that was one of the things that people were really worried about during the Satanic Panic, was children always being snatched up. And it was such a trope and an idea in the 80s. Like, if you let your kids outside, even though everyone let their kids outside in the 80s, they were all going to get snatched up by that secret satanic cabal that never existed. But people were genuinely worried. Yeah. There would be evidence it did not exist. Don't feed the trolls, Richard-Lael.
I mean, the Satanic Panic, they weren't Satanists, they were just billionaires. I mean,
that's the real Satanic Panic.
Yeah, that's a whole new story. Not new, but another new story.
Is Chad putting us in the freezer?
I think he did.
I think he might have.
Back.
No.
I went to get my wand because I can feel us getting toward the end of the show, so I just went to get my
getting towards the end, but we have a few more things to do.
I do have a question for Chad, though, because he knows this movie so well. So there's the Bog of Eternal Stench that everyone is worried about being, subjected to, right? And Sarah walks on these rocks, and everyone else does, that rise from the Bog of Eternal Stench. Wouldn't some of the bog have been on those rocks? And by walking across the rocks, wouldn't everyone have smelled awful for the rest of the film? Is there an explanation?
Okay, so I was going to make a joke about and not actually answer. I was going to just talk in circles and not actually answer it. But I've thought about this because as a child, it always bothered me that like the solve for that moment is the rocks, and it's the answer is unfortunately in the movie. When they come up, they're wet, but when she drops onto them, they are dry. So one is meant to assume that they dried very, very quickly. Oh my God, Jenny, tell us about your cat.
Okay,
Oh,
yes.
he is just an extremely nosy. That's Mankey. And he has to be in every time we do movie coven. He's here. Last time he blocked my light, but he was knocking on the door, and so I let my husband know, like, you can let him in. And then he's took Philip's necklace off. He's already a menace. That's just what he is. He's a little menace.
Maybe he wants to wear it. Maybe he
I
wants.
think he might. He wants to wear it.
Oh, he
Such
would
a
look
cat
good.
way to be.
Black Mikey would look good.
But Jason, I will tell you that where I grew up in Colorado, every summer there was a natural spring that would open up in the thicket behind my parents' house, and it would flood the whole area, and it would get murky and it would get muggy and boggy, and it looked like the Bog of Eternal Stench. And so I always was quite partial to the bog as a child for two reasons. One, because I was like, oh, the bog is right behind our house. But also two, I am a gigantic immature man baby who thinks that fart noises are hysterical when used tastefully.
Yes, they are.
And so I, as a child, thought that was just the funniest thing ever, was the Bog of Eternal Stench, just the whole idea of it. But yeah, so you are pointing out a perfectly logical plot point. The answer to it is in the movie, but you are correct. The Jennifer Connelly, I don't think she would have smelled because it was her shoes that were touching the liquid, but Sir Didymus's dog and Ludo and, you know, some of the more barefooted characters, absolutely. If we are gleaning to the logic of the film, then yes, the soles of their feet would have smelled absolutely just like the Oval Office, and unavoidable, completely unavoidable.
Kudos.
Yeah, that got me.
I have.
Please.
I'm sorry. There's a weird glitch. I have a stench story. So many years ago, I worked at a bank, and this guy came into the lobby to make a deposit, and apparently he cleaned all of the grease traps from the restaurants. And the second he walked in, it was this waft of stagnant, stale, moldy grease from all of the restaurants, and it was the most foul smell I've ever smelled in my life. And of course, he comes up to my teller window, and in those days, it wasn't quite the 80s, but in those days, we didn't have the plexiglass in front of you, and you were basically just, hi, come and get my money, put a gun in my face, you know? So I'm sitting there, and the guy, of course, comes up to my teller window, and I go, hello, welcome to Chase Bank. Hold on. How can I help you today? And the second the poor fellow left, I let out this great sigh, and even the bank manager came down, and she was like, "What is that ungodly stench?" This guy apparently had been in the bog. Apparently, he had been in that bog, because I am telling you, I have still never smelled anything that smelled like that guy, even just walking into the bank.
Wow.
Well, now I'm sad.
Oh, we don't want you sad.
I mean,
Chad.
you know, not a very nice guy. Nice guy. He's a nice guy. It was just a very stenchy stench.
Thank you. All right. I know. I can't wait for the Maggie movie. I have a few.
Bog of Eternal Stench is an ideal name for Witherspoon's toy.
We kind of lost you there for Richard-Lael, but you're back. I have.
I was just reading one of the comments, but I go.
Okay. I have a few quotes again, and I kind of looked at them from the serious side and the not serious side. Big one, through dangers untold and hardships unnumbered. You know, on the serious side of things, there she is she's claiming her journey, her heroine energy, and how she's making it through, or it's a 1986 way to go. I I'd like to speak to the manager of this maze. I don't know.
I'd like to speak to the manager of this maze.
The manager of this maze. I would like to. That's what it sort of felt like to me. And of course, we'd have the "You have no power over me," which we all like that. It's a boundary spell to me. It's sovereignty reclaimed, or unfollow. I put everything in again. Unfollow. It's a modern unfollow. I don't want to go with there. Everything I've done for you. Is that romantic or manipulative? But everything he did, he built the entire obstacle course. That's weird to me. I don't know. I probably didn't do the quotes as good as Peggy. Peggy. I don't know who Peggy is. No, Peggy. Somebody has a cat named Peggy or Penny. I moved the stars for no one. Except he actually moved the stars for her. He immediately. So with wind machines, I think. Anyway, it's not fair. She said a lot of it's not fair, but she's the one who wanted to take the baby, and she entered a goblin maze voluntarily. So I guess it is fair. The way forward is sometimes the way back. I like that quote just because I like that quote. So revisiting old paths untold. Yes, we could look at a thing meaning, or it's GPS that says recalculating because that's
judgy, those GPSs.
Should you need us was a big one. You remind me of the Babe, which I thought it was weird. Words have power. We see that. Or otherwise, he's like literally opening negotiations with nursery rhymes. Like, it remind me of the Babe. So anyway, that's all the quotes I have that I could pull and place something with. It's still a very confusing movie to me. I'm sitting here going wands up, wands down, wands middle, wands up, wands down, wands middle. So Jason, maybe you could help us through with a Mankey movie moment minute.
I think I'm just going to make things worse, but I'm going to give it a go. We have many traditions on the Witches Movie Coven. Some of those are obvious, like the order of the show. Patti says hi, and then Richard-Lael, then Heather, some discussion, then Courtney, and then finally I do whatever this thing is that I'm currently doing. Sometimes our discussions result in people turning off their lights or putting on sunglasses. And sometimes I write these Mankey movie moments knowing someone will probably be turning off their lights or putting off some sunglasses when I share them, or in the case of Chad, being put in a freezer, because I don't really care for this movie. I didn't as a kid, and much of that is because of the characters. So let's go through them one by one, shall we? Let's start with Sarah Williams, our protagonist, who immediately makes a bad impression. She comes home late to a previously agreed upon babysitting commitment and immediately blames everyone but herself. And her stepmother must be an ogre for that stepmother to dare ask Sarah about being late. I like Jennifer Connelly in just about everything else she's ever been in. I do not like her in this movie. And her absolute hatred of her crying, literally baby brother comes across as rather heartless, unless you're Taya in our comments, who doesn't like babies at all. But the biggest issue might be her absolute love of Jareth, the king of the goblins. Jareth is the villain of this movie, but he's equally positioned as Sarah's love interest, which I would say is just creepy, but that's not harsh enough. If we were to flash forward 35 years and catch up with Sarah today, we would definitely find out that Sarah had married someone at least 10 years older than her, and that she calls her husband Daddy. One of Sarah's only friends in the world of goblins is Hoggle, a fairy tale creature man who betrays and redeems himself to Sarah about 12 times in the first hour of the film. Hoggle also pouts a lot and at one point laments the loss of his only friend, Sarah, even though they have known each other at that point for half an hour. Hoggle is later kissed by Sarah as thanks, and given Sarah's love of daddy figures, Hoggle definitely has a shot. Turning up about halfway through Labyrinth is Sir Didymus, and thank heavens he only shows up halfway through this movie. Didymus might be the most annoying character to ever grace a Jim Henson film. Most scenes involving Didymus show the character flailing about ineffectively and then calling his dog Ambrosius a coward until at the very end, Ambrosius finds his courage. Wow, I didn't see that coming. Shocking. Didymus makes me long for characters like the Killing Tree and that guy who yelled Mystic Shield during Ouija Shark. I cannot find it in myself to say too much that's bad about Ludo. He's about the only thing that Henson got right in this movie. He's sympathetic, likable, not too scary looking, but also just scary looking enough. He also had the power to take down Jareth the entire time because he apparently controls rocks and is also very strong. It's also a relief that Sarah is not romantically interested in him. And that brings us to Jareth, the Goblin King. For many years now, I have referred to my wife's now deceased stepfather as the Goblin King. Part of that is because I believe he looked like a goblin, and perhaps more importantly, he was not a good person. He tried to get my beloved kicked out of school, but by not filling out some forms for her, and yet saying that he had. Unforgivable. She almost had to go back and quit college, and I will never forgive him for that. And when I refer to this person as the Goblin King, I am reminded that David Bowie and his ever-expanding codpiece is the true Goblin King. But Jareth only sort of works in this movie. As an evil wizard with charisma, David Bowie is a great choice. As a love interest frenemy for a more age-appropriate antagonist or protagonist, he also would have been fine, but we got is neither of those things. I'm sorry, no adult should be saying, just fear me, love me, do as I say, and I will be your slave to a 16-year-old girl. That's creepy. I love me some David Bowie, and he certainly looks cool in this movie, but the character's just not right. He can't even be defeated in a satisfying way. Probably because our heroine doesn't truly want to defeat him. At the end of the movie, Jareth turns into an owl, spies on Sarah, and then flies away like he's the hero of the film. Hopefully, he's flying into a different movie or perhaps jail.
Thank you. That was beautiful.
Was that savage enough, Richard-Lael? Was that savage?
4 stars.
Very
Yeah.
well done. We've lost Chad completely. Chad doesn't even have a house anymore there.
No,
His
just
furniture is gone. His chair is gone.
rest in peace.
I knew that I was going to be in trouble, perhaps
There he
with
is.
Chad. Wow, I can feel that. I can feel that coming up the coast right now.
Grab your wands
Right.
and
How dare you? How very dare you?
grab your wands. Try not to hit anybody with them. Let's wands up, wands down. Oh, you've got the perfect crystal ball.
Oh, wow. He dropped it.
You have to juggle it now, though.
I have a hard time juggling my own balls.
Ba-boom.
I know. All right. Way
Flying
down,
into the fridge.
way down for Jason. Way up for Chad. Midway for Jenny and I. And Richard, you've lost your ball. I mean, your way.
I have dropped this all the way into the
So
internal stent.
we have 2 downs, 1 up, and 2 neutrals. What about you guys in the chat room? I'm so confused this show. Half. We got a halfway. We got a middle. Juan's halfway. We got a lot of little middle ground on this because that makes sense to me. If I couldn't decide until 1 minute ago. Yeah, because there's too much weird and too much good. You'd think on some of these movies they'd see that coming, but maybe not 40 years ago. I don't know. Do we know what we're doing next week?
Oh, did we run Heather's review? Because she gave us one, even though she's not here.
No, Heather said wands up for the Muppets and wands down for the movie.
Yes.
Super high for the Muppets and Henson.
Yes.
Down for the
And
movie.
I feel much like Heather.
Yeah, same.
And
Can I-
Courtney has her own
Can I-
motives, apparently.
Can I interrupt real quick with something that has absolutely nothing to do with any of what we're talking about right now?
Of course.
Of course.
My phone's been blowing up for the last 5 minutes because one 3-time Oscar winner and close personal friend, V. Neal, has been trying to get a hold of me. And I finally responded by sending a picture of like, I'm busy. And she's I have messages to relate to Patti and Richard-Lael. She says, tell Patti I say hello. And then she says, and of course, tell Richard-Lael I send my best. So I'm relating that information.
Thank you. Are you coming to the ball this weekend?
I am supposed to.
You come.
My sainted boyfriend, who I spent the last 4 nights with, is very ill all of a sudden. And so we're waiting to make sure that I am also not very ill. But I do have a lovely outfit ready to go. I spent the bulk of my day today hand stitching new details onto V's outfit, covering it in crystals. It's very pretty. She looks like Elizabeth Bathory now. Oh, yeah. So, by the way, Richard-Lael, when you were introducing everyone this morning and naming various merchandise, there is an internationally ignored cosplayer shirt on the site. So you can have this. You can have a shirt inspired by me if you are so inclined.
That's beautiful. I love that.
Yes, Patti, I should be there, hopefully.
Yes, come. This weekend, for anybody in LA who can get here, it is Endless Night Vampire Ball weekend. There's going to be a special party Friday night that everybody's going to find out about tonight. Saturday, we do the Bar Sinister, but the big ball is Sunday night. V. Neal, this wonderful, amazing makeup artist at Academy Award winning, she is our special host for this evening. So you guys come to LA. Find your horns, find your gowns, find your top hats, find your cloaks, find your corsets, find your everything. I did an Eventbrite. Thank you for putting it up, how to get to it. So join Chad, join me, join V. Neal. Bring your goat, dress up your goat if you're going to bring your goat. And we're going long and we have one more thing to do. So we didn't talk about next week. I don't think I'm going to be here next week because I'm going to go see Lady Gaga.
I will be on my way to convocation in Detroit, Michigan next week. And Heather will be on her way to Sacred Space in Baltimore, Maryland, 2 of the premier pagan and witch conferences in the United States. Now we can cackle. Sorry. Had to get that in, Patti.
No. That's great. Anybody else have anything that they want to talk about real quick?
Next week, The Ritual. That's the movie. Next week. The Ritual.
The Ritual. Okay, The Ritual. Whoever is here to watch it. Richard-Lael, take it. I didn't mean to do that. 1, 2, 3. Let's cackle.